Hi, my name's Margaret McCammon. I'm a portfolio manager for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. For those who aren't familiar with MEDC, we are the state's leading body to promote economic development and jobs growth across Michigan. For those who've been watching all week, welcome to the fourth of our Ambassador series, where we discuss the resources that the state offers to support entrepreneurs across the state. For those who aren't familiar with our SmartZone network, MEDC supports 21 smart zones across Michigan. And these are business incubators that provide resources for all entrepreneurs, but with a specific focus on high-tech startups. And I'm very happy to be able to introduce Sandra Cochrane, one of my favorite people. Sandra is a graduate from Western Michigan University, where she earned a bachelor's in English education and an MBA. Since then, she has developed 20 years track record of driving business entrepreneurship and technology commercialization in life science companies. And Sandra now is Assistant Dean at Western Michigan University, and of course also Director of the WMed Innovation Center, which is the Kalamazoo Smart Zone. Under Sandra's leadership, WMed has gained a slew of accolades, and I'm hoping Sandra won't be shy in sharing some of those today. So Sandra, I want to start by saying thank you so much by taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you are super busy all the time. You lead one of the very few purpose-built wet lab research and development incubators. So can I ask you to start by telling people kind of what that is and the facilities that you offer?
Sure. Thank you, Maggie. I'm happy to be here today to talk about the Innovation Center. So the Innovation Center goes back, it's 20 years that we've been operating, although we have been in this particular facility since 2003. We are, as you said, a purpose-built facility, which means we were built for what we do. We did not take an old building and redevelop it and, kind of make it work for what we wanted. We started from the ground up and designed it as an incubator, and we designed it for life sciences research and development for commercialization. So, we were about a 69,000 square foot building. That's quite large in the world of incubation. It's a very large building. And we have about 76 laboratories that are available that we lease out to clients. And we also have office space that, a lot of laboratory-based businesses find it necessary to have to have office as well as laboratory. And then all kinds of support services, including shared equipment. We have 2 mass spectrophotometers, which is rather unusual, that our clients can use. We have 5 conference rooms, a large multi-purpose room, all kinds of other support services for our clients.
Great. So just to clarify, you mentioned the mass spectrometers that you have. This is a core service that you offer for all of your companies. Could you explain a bit more to people what that means?
Sure. So the Innovation Center, because it's dedicated to life sciences, and life sciences oftentimes require expensive equipment, a lot of which clients can't afford on their own. And even if they could, we wouldn't want 10 of them in the building. There'd just be too many of them. So we have an area called Launch My Lab, and it contains a lot of shared equipment that the clients can use, including centrifuges and mass specs, and autoclaves and chemical fume hoods. And so this core area is available for our clients to use. It's included in their rent. So if they are renting laboratory space, they automatically have access to the specialized equipment. And then it is also available, we have some programs available month to month. We call it laboratory co-working. And so say a client just needs laboratory space for 3 months or 6 months, just a short period of time to get some proof of concept work done, we can actually lease them a small bit of space inside our shared area and give them access to all of that shared equipment without getting into a big long-term 12-month, lease for a big laboratory. They can just come in and do the little bit of work they need to do. And that gets utilized. There's almost always at least one client kind of utilizing that at any particular time. I think the most we ever had at one time was 4, and made that made that big space rather busy. So,
So just to kind of close out that, you mentioned the sort of sophisticated and expensive equipment that you have. The other side of that is that you need expertise to be able to run this kind of equipment, which most people don't have. Most scientists don't know how to run a mass spec. So you also offer that kind of support as well for your businesses.
Well, to some degree, it's not a fully fledged core lab. Like a lot of people, if you're in the sciences area and you understand that concept of a core laboratory where you would go and you would give your samples to the person running the equipment and they would run your samples and then they would give you the results back. We are actually a self-service kind of facility. So all of the equipment that we have does require training. You can't simply walk into the mass spec room. You have to be trained in how to use it. And then the client's badge will be activated so that it will access that room. So clients actually do their own mass spec work. They are trained by our consultant or our contractor who comes in and shows them how to use. We have 2 different mass specs. One is an LCT, the other is called QTOF. They do just a little bit different types of work. So the client is trained on how to use both of those systems, and then they can come in and they can run their samples. That is the only piece of equipment that we have that has an additional fee. So usually if a client is in the building, they can use any of the equipment we have free of charge except the mass spec, because that's a very expensive piece of equipment to own and operate and maintain. But still, the fact that it's even available is amazing. You can't even find one anywhere. And then we think our pricing is very reasonable. The pricing is based on the length of the sample runtime. So a sample that just requires a short runtime, that's only going to cost $20 per sample. But something that's going to have to run for 3, 4, 5 hours, we're going to probably charge $50, $60 for that.
That's still very good.
Yeah, it's still very good. We haven't had any problems yet. We haven't had it like overloaded where we just have so many people that need to use it. So far so good. We put other protocols in place if it got to the point where it was being utilized so much and people were having conflict. Right now, everything is fine. Clients love it. They need it. The clients that need it are very grateful that it's there. So
yes, and the fact that you provide the training for this sophisticated equipment, again, not many places do.
Yeah. So and the maintenance of it. Yeah, when something goes wrong, they can call. Hey, sample's not running right. We send someone down to help.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. So if someone's listening and they have a technology or a business idea that they're interested in pursuing, where do they start with you? How do they get in touch? What are the steps?
Well, the first thing they would do is visit our website. And I know Piper had told us that we should be putting some of our stuff in the chat. So I'm going to pop that right in there if I can. And the first thing they would do, if I send this to everybody, all panelists and attendees, there. You would visit our website first. And we do have our own dedicated website for the Innovation Center. And there it would list all kinds of things. It would have the companies we currently have in residence. You can kind of see the kinds of companies that are there to see, would I fit there? Would I find people there to talk to who know what I'm going through? We also list out there our criteria. Like if you want to be a client, it says what we do, and you would see the floor plan of the building. You would see our rental rates. You would see the various types of programs, whether it be dedicated incubator space or one of our 3 co-working programs. Those are all listed out. And of course, you would be able to apply. There's an Apply Now button, which takes you to an inquiry page, which asks you to give us a little bit of information about what you're doing so we can kind of make a first pass at whether or not we think it's going to be a pretty good fit. There is an application process. We are a very specialized building. We don't have a ton of room, so we need to make sure the clients we bring in are going to be a good fit. Not only that they fit and can utilize what we have, but that we can help them. We do specialize in high technology, especially life sciences. So there's a lot of types of companies that we don't know how to serve, like retail. We don't know how to help people who are working in retail. We don't know how to help people who want to run a restaurant. We aren't very big in automotive. There's not a lot we know about automotive. So we want to be honest with people. If they want to come and visit with us and see what we have, that's great. And then we want to make sure that we would be able to serve them. And they would also find on our website our calendar of events. So we do a lot of programming that's free and open to the public. In today's world of COVID, unfortunately, we're not doing as much of it as we usually do, but we usually try to have at least one event per week that's free and open to the public, whether it's a lunch and learn, whether it's a service provider partner coming in to talk about a topic of interest. We have pitch events. Training. We partner with the Small Business Development Center. We also partner with SCORE, and we have their trainers coming in very often to give training programs. BBC, which is another program supported by the MEDC. They do a lot of training on small business grants through the federal government. We have them come in on a very regular basis and provide training. And all of these things are free of charge. And we would love for people to come and hang out with us and learn with us. They don't have to be a client and pay us rent in order to just come and participate.
Mm-hmm. So just to summarize, you're offering the wet lab resources and the conference rooms, but you're also offering the business support. You help with the setting up the business, the strategy, the marketing ideas, and importantly, also very well connected to the rest of the ecosystem. So MEDC supports a very big ecosystem that supports various aspects of starting and running a high-tech business. How could you help someone who's just starting and they don't know anyone in the ecosystem and they need someone that can direct them to the right places?
Oh, then they definitely need to talk with me. If they're in the life sciences sector and or just in the Kalamazoo region, we like to think that we're, an excellent place for people to begin. Even if they aren't going to be a fit and be a client living in the building, I am certainly happy to help them connect. So I would be able to help them figure out what are the resources they need at that particular moment. A lot of times a client will come and they'll say, the first thing is, well, I just need money. Just help me get a loan or help me get an angel investor. And actually, as we begin to talk, I begin to realize, money is not really what you need right now. You do need money, and it's important, but there might be some other things that you need to put into place first that will make it easier to get the money. And so whether it's a business plan, whether it's someone who can help them think through the regulatory pathway so that they know how they're going to navigate through the FDA, whether it's finding someone who can help them understand the medical device design and manufacture of a medical device that they're about to go through. It could be even things like clinical trials. How do they figure out how to do clinical trials? And on the business side, things like how to get their website up and running, how to do a marketing plan. There's a lot of resources out there, and the best way I help people is by listening to them. And so we talk about where they are, what they're doing, what their needs are, and then I bring them those particular resources depending on where they are in their stage of development.
Great. So like you, I'm just sharing our website too that has obviously WMed on it and various other resources that MEDC support. So when someone starts off, high-tech business is particularly difficult because it's a very slow-moving process. It takes a long time to see successes. Can you share some examples in terms of inspiration to show that it can work and there can be, successes at the end of a very long road? Can you share some of the successes that you guys have seen?
Would you like to see my pages?
Perfect.
So many of them. I actually had to sit down and make a list. So remember, the Innovation Center, we have been around basically for 20 years. We have been operating. And so we have a lot of success stories that we could crow about. One of our most recent, we actually share with Grand Rapids. So it's a company called Tetra Therapeutics. They were recently acquired by a Japanese firm called Shinogi. And their laboratories have been here in Kalamazoo since I think they entered our lab in about 2012. Their headquarters, their office is up in Grand Rapids, and that's where the CEO is. But his laboratory is here, and all the scientific work is taking place in the Kalamazoo area. And so Tetra has just been really working hard for a long time, over 8 years. They've been working hard, raising money, doing their clinical trials, and just got acquired. And when all is said and done and the whole payment thing works out like it's supposed to, that's going to be a $500 million deal. I mean, that is an amazing exit for that company. And that's not the first exit we've had. We've had other companies that have gone IPO. One of our greater success stories in the area is a great little company called Cochrane. Shouldn't call them little. They probably wouldn't like to hear me say that. They started out with us back in 2003. It was two scientists who came out of the Pfizer downsizing in Kalamazoo, and they started Cochrane, which is a medicinal chemistry company. They do work for other companies. They work for Pfizer. They work for Amgen. They work for Lilly. And they do contract research in the chemical development area. They were with us for probably 7 years or so, grew like crazy, outgrew our space, moved out, they built a building just down the street, and they are still in business today, as strong as ever. In fact, I believe they were also recently acquired. Just a few years ago, they became a wholly owned subsidiary of a French firm, Dipharma, I believe was the name. They're still operating under the name Cochrane, but they were purchased. So we've had lots and lots of success stories. We love to see companies grow up and move out. That's really what they're supposed to do. That's what an incubator is all about. We don't want to keep them in our walls because we want them to grow, and we're only big. So once they get big enough, we're more than happy to help them find a spot where they can thrive. Hopefully it's in Kalamazoo. If not in Kalamazoo, can it be in Michigan? If not in Michigan, can it be in the Midwest? We try to keep them as close as possible.
So on that note, Tetra, for example, they're a fantastic technology. For people who aren't familiar with them, they've developed a drug that improves short-term memory, and it's being used for Alzheimer's and various other disorders. And is it starting phase 2 now? It's been very, very successful in clinical trials. Mm-hmm. And one of the temptations with companies like Tetra is that when they're looking to raise the big money, that they might be tempted out of Michigan. And we're actually not seeing that. We're seeing that most of our tech companies are staying in this area. So could you give some of the kind of background on Tetra and how they stayed in Kalamazoo?
There have actually been several clients that have had that happen and stayed in Kalamazoo. Another client that we had was McCammon, another great success with around a while. They were actually acquired last year, 2019, by a company out of Minneapolis, and they elected to stay. And I think one of the reasons why a lot of people like to stay in Kalamazoo, in Michigan, in the Midwest, I think venture capitalist investors have learned, yes, the coasts have a great deal of concentration. So, Research Triangle Park and San Jose and, Los Angeles, they have great areas, but they're very expensive. And when you try to take a technology team who have been living and working in this area and being successful, it's really difficult to pick them up, move them across the country, set them down, and expect them to just keep going. It takes years to build these relationships with their vendors, with their employees. And so I think that is why a lot of these companies, even though they're being maybe acquired by or funded by investors on the East and the West Coast or even internationally, they are being left where they are because they're successful where they are. And why uproot them and make them change when everything they have is right here? They've got the support they need. They have the resources that they need. This is a global economy. You can be sitting in Michigan and doing business in Dubai. So, and it's a great place to live, especially here. I'm going to brag about Southwest Michigan. It's a beautiful area out here. We're near the Great Lakes. We have beautiful beaches. The weather's nice. It's very rural and agricultural, and so it's a very laid-back vibe, very low cost of living, very low crime rate, great place to raise a family. We've got 3 institutions of higher learning here in Kalamazoo. So we have Western Michigan University, the 6th largest university in Michigan. We have Davenport College. We have K College, which is a wonderful private institution. And then we also have Kalamazoo Valley Community College. Oh, that's 4. We have 4 institutions of higher learning. So very educated workforce here in the area. And so I think companies are allowed to stay here. When their investors take a look at what Kalamazoo has to offer, especially in terms of life sciences and medical device, we are the home of Pfizer Manufacturing. We are the home of Stryker Corporation, which is all medical devices and medical products. We're also the home of Zoetis Animal Health Global Home. That's, all your animal, care products. And then we're also we are the largest location for Charles River Laboratories, which is a preclinical facility, which is vital to medical device and pharmaceutical work. And so you look at those assets that are here in our community, not only that they are here to collaborate and do work with, but think about the people that come here. So we have got a talent base here of scientific people who really understand the pharmaceutical and medical device world. And that makes it relatively easy for people to get the workers they need, the scientific staff they need to come here and work. I think it's another reason why companies continue to stay here.
Yeah,
and I'm bragging about Kalamazoo, but I suppose the same thing is probably true of Grand Rapids. But
I think Michigan and
Kalamazoo.
So kind of on that note, we're also we're seeing a lot of companies and talent actually being attracted into Michigan from the coast. Now, you have spent 6 years on the board of the International Business Incubator Association, and you're currently the president of the Michigan Business Incubator Association.
Yes.
So how are you seeing that from that point of view? How are you seeing Michigan as being competitive and keeping and bringing in these high-tech companies?
Yeah. I think Michigan is more competitive in terms of keeping what we have here. I'll say it is difficult. Just like I said, you don't want to pick up a team out of Michigan and move them to the coast. You also don't want to pick up a team out of the coast and move them to Michigan. They're going to, again, lose their connections, their resources, their ways of doing things. So I think that's a little bit more difficult, but it's not impossible. And what we do have to offer all of Michigan is, as we had mentioned, that lower cost of living. You can get a really great talent, and you don't have to pay as much. So it's interesting to see sometimes companies that do want to come more to the Midwest to try to get away from some of that. But I think for the most part, it's growing what we have and trying to keep it here. I think that's probably more important than trying to attract, because this is a small startup. They're probably not going to come. Other things that can help attract, though, if they are interested in moving, it would be connections to some of our research institutions. Like they might want to come here closer to University of Michigan or Van Andel Institute or Carmanos, am I saying that right? The Cancer Institute over in Detroit, which is very good, and Michigan State, and all these other great resources. They may have a reason to want to be close to a center of excellence. Mm-hmm. And so there are some of these centers of excellence that could attract them and bring them in.
Yes, and that's often a driver that the CEO or the chief scientific officer is from one of these organizations. So often by the time it gets into the media, it looks like the company's had, an overnight success. Yeah. And behind the scenes, you see the kind of years of hard work and the challenges. Can you share any of those challenges again? In terms of people who are watching, they're going to have their own challenges. It's not an easy route, but they can be overcome.
You bet. So I'm looking at my notes because I wanted to make sure I get some of these details right. So one of our great companies, again, kind of this overnight success idea, is a company called Vestaron. Vestaron Corporation. They actually started with us back 13 years ago. 13 years ago, they came to the Innovation Center, and they had a different name then, and they had a CEO then. And it took time, a lot of time. I believe they started with 2 labs. Yeah, 3 labs. They started with 3 labs. So what this company does, I should back up a little bit, give a little bit about them. Vestaron, they produce insecticides for agricultural use, animal health, non-crop, and commercial pest control. But unlike traditional synthetic pesticides, Vestaron creates peptides with biological peptides. So they are creating a biological product to be put onto a field or used in greenhouses. So it's an all-natural ingredient. It's just it's grown, commercially. So in the past 13 years this company has been here, they have changed their name. They have transitioned through 3 CEOs, one of whom died unexpectedly, which could have destroyed a lot of companies to have the unexpected death of a leader. But they made it through that quite nicely, brought in a brand new CEO. She's a woman and she's fabulous. They expanded from 3 labs to 15 labs. They are currently in 15 labs right now, and they have raised about $90 million worth of venture funding. And they are on target to hit all of their milestones. They brought their first product to market last year. It took 12 years to just get to the first product. That first product is doing very well. COVID is impacting it to some degree. But they are still doing, really well, right on track to get everything done. Because, COVID's impacting everybody, right? I don't know who you are, it's impacting you. And I can announce, because it just got into the news, we're very proud of them. They have been named the EPA Green Challenge Chemistry Award winner. There have been only 13 Green Chemistry Award winners in the agricultural space in the past 25 years. So. Wow. That an agricultural company has won that. And for what they are doing, this is a huge recognition for them. And a lot of people would look at that and say, Vestron, wow, where did they come from? They came out of nowhere. It's like, no, they've been around a really long time. And they have had ups and downs and trials and tribulations. And just like every other startup, there have been days where you wonder, are they going to make it? And they do. Very proud of them. So go Vestron.
Yeah, great. So you mentioned a woman CEO. You yourself have been very active in driving inclusion for women. Could you give us some of your motivations for that and some of the successes I know you've had on it?
Yeah, so we like to brag the Innovation Center is run by women, because it is. So there's really only 2 of us there. It's myself and Madeline Pender, who's Business Services Manager. And we 2 ladies keep that place going. So we do have a soft spot in our hearts for our female entrepreneurs. We wish there were more. And so we recently received from the Small Business Administration a $50,000 Growth Accelerator Fund award. And with that, we targeted female entrepreneurs. And so we have been doing a series of programs over this year that will culminate at the end of the year with our Boundless Women Confab, to try to raise awareness, especially in the local area, among women in the scientific community, about some of the things that are available in the entrepreneurial side. So one of the things we did was that SBIR, STTR workshop series. So helping women in the science areas learn about these federal grants that are available to businesses, and helping them learn how to be competitive when writing these grants, because there aren't nearly as many women applying for them or receiving them. So we would really love to see that number go up. We also implemented a mentoring program, and I am proud to say that 75% of the people in the mentor program are female, and half of the mentors are female. So we really, it's about outreach and really trying hard to find these female technology leaders or leaders to be, those that want to be leaders in the future. How can we find them and bring them in and show them the resources that are available? And those are kinds of the things that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm. And just to clarify, that the programs aren't limited to women, are they? They're just female friendly.
Thank you. No, they're not limited to women. That's why we said, 75% of the women in the mentor program are women, but hey, 25% are men. And when we do our SBIR workshop series, it is by all means open to men. It is for anyone. It's just had a cloud go in front of the sun. I'm going to turn a light a little brighter. And we definitely want men to participate. We don't close any of our programs right now. We want to target women, encourage women, reach out to women, but we certainly do not want that to mean that we're excluding men. So, hey, the more the merrier.
Great. So the SBIRs and STTRs are a hugely important non-dilutive source for startup businesses. And I know you're a reviewer for the National Science Foundation. For people who aren't familiar with those programs, could you just give an overview and why they are so good to get to know?
Sure. So the SBIR STTR program is federal dollars that is Many of these large federal agencies, like the National Institutes of Health, the National Science Foundation, the Department of Defense, the whole, military complex, the Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Education, any of these agencies that conduct their own research of a certain level, $100 million or more, if they are doing that, they are by law required to put aside a portion of their dollars, of their budget, and make it available to small businesses. It's a huge, huge opportunity for small businesses to get free federal dollars. So that's what the SBIR STTR program is. We just say SBIR so we don't have to put the STTR on the end. There's a couple different programs underneath it, but basically the gist is it's free money to conduct research and development into commercial products. And you can start with a phase 1, which is just a few $100,000 over the course of a year to figure out feasibility and proof of concept. Does this thing even work? And if you're successful, you can apply for a phase 2, which could be several $1 million over the span of 2 years and could actually take you to market. It's for actual early stage prototype, minimum viable product. So these SBIR grants, they are about the only free money. When people talk about, I want a grant from the government, I want free money for my business, that's where you're going to go. At least if you're a high-tech company, that's the money that's out there for those high-tech firms. I can't speak more highly of them. The benefit of an SBIR grant, there's actually 2 really strong benefits. Number 1 is it's peer-reviewed, and so it gives credibility. So if you've got technology and it's really cutting edge and people look at you a little, is that really going to work? Well, if you get an SBIR, you've basically been peer reviewed by some of the highest minds in the country to say, that's cool. So having an SBIR, number 1, gives you really good credibility and allows you to kind of brag about that. But number 2, it's free money. It's non-dilutive. It goes into your coffers of your company for you to spend on your research and development, and you don't have to give up anything other than maybe a little data. You got to do your reports to the government. But it's a great way to bring funding into your company without having to give up equity or without having to pay back a loan. And so those are the 2 big reasons why I advocate for SBIRs. But you have to be patient. They're sometimes difficult to get, and the timeline, it's the government. It takes a long time. So
it does. And they're slightly complicated because different agencies have different requirements. But again, speaking to people like you or BBC, people have access to expertise. And I'm not sure if we clarified this. SBIR is a Small Business Innovation Research, and STTR is a Small Business Technology Transfer Awards. And these are federal dollars. They're not Michigan dollars. They're federal dollars that we can, as an ecosystem, can help support companies to raise. And just on a very quick side note, anyone who's considering applying for one of those, MEDC also has the Emerging Technology Fund, which is run by the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center. This is, again, a grant. It's not a loan. And it's up to $25,000 for a phase 1 and up to $125,000 for a phase 2. What's really important is you have to get a letter of support from SBDC before you submit an SBIR or an STTR application. And again, I know we're kind of throwing out lots of names and things there. If anyone has any questions, reach out to one of us, any one of us. Yeah, we can always help. But this is definitely a very good source. Sandra has amazing expertise in this field, and there is help. They're complicated grants, but there's a lot of help in getting them. And kind of on the innovation and research front, Sandra, a few years ago, WMed became part of MSU. Do you want to, Western Michigan, do you want to tell us, how that came about, how it worked, and, is it good, bad, benefits?
Sure. Yeah. So as I said, the Innovation Center, really kind of started about 20 years ago. We originally were operating on the campus of Western Michigan University in their old chemistry building, which has now been torn down, doesn't even exist anymore. And we were part of the Economic Development Group. That's how we started. And we were a standalone 501c3 organization. So we were out there doing our thing with no affiliation to any university. And then in I want to say it was 2016, I believe, Western Michigan University developed a medical college, the Homer Stryker MD School of Medicine. And whatever powers that came to be, I don't know. I wasn't here at the time when that happened.
Yeah.
I had gone and I had come back, so now I'm back. But somehow the medical school, we became part of the medical school. And I think it's really been wonderful. So having this connection to the medical school, because we are kind of focused on medical device and pharmaceutical, we are all about helping human health and advancing human health. And so having that tie to the medical school has been terrific. So one of the latest collaborations that's been really terrific is we have a company in our incubator called IonTox. Great story there. This is actually his second company. Dr. Jim McCammon started another company called CTOX back in 2003. He's also an ex-Pfizer scientist. Built CTOX, sold that. Now he's on his second company called IonTox. IonTox is growing nicely. They've just moved into a third lab, and they're doing a collaboration with Western Michigan University, the Homer Stryker School of Medicine's research department. And they are working on a COVID-19 antibody test. And it's actually done. It's awaiting its FDA approval, which hopefully will come this week, next week, however quickly the FDA can move. And this will be something that's available. We will actually be using it at the School of Medicine, but it will also be, IonTox will be able to sell it. It will be a COVID-19 antibody test that they'll be able to use. So that's been a really nice collaboration. That's just the latest one. So
Great, excellent. So I'm aware that we're going to run short of time, so I want to make sure I give you the chance to talk about what's in the future. Where do you see WMed going? Kind of what do you want to achieve? Obviously, as you said, COVID has kind of turned everything on its head at the moment. But where's your dream to take this?
Well, we're literally living the dream right now, is all I can say. We're doing well. The center is healthy. We've got about 25 clients that we are working with, some in residence and some more virtual. So we are practically full. My next dream, I want to see my next graduate. I want to see one of my companies graduate out, get their own building in the community, keep growing, keep thriving, and want to see that pipeline for me continue to develop. I would love to see some technology coming out of the School of Medicine's research department. We do have researchers over there who are working on, potential therapeutics that could save lives in the future. It would be wonderful to me to see some of that actually come out and land at the Innovation Center as a company and be able to bring those products into market. I'd also like to see us working much more closely. We're working closely, but I'd like to see even more come out of the WMU College of Engineering. So they've got great technologies over there that they've been developing. We have 2 companies working with us that are out of the College of Engineering. Would love to see more of that develop, especially more in kind of the sensor area. We would love to have more sensor companies, IT companies, material science companies would be really fabulous. I think we've got great resources for them, good lab space for material science. So those are kind of maybe my goals for the future, working more closely with both aspects of the School of Medicine and the College of Engineering and seeing what we can do to bring more of those technologies to the commercial market.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned space. I know you guys tend to operate pretty close to capacity. So you have different types of spaces for different types of startups. Again, if I'm a first-time entrepreneur and I don't know where to start, what could you offer them if they want to take the plunge?
Yeah, so always I tell people the best thing to do, I don't care if it's my incubator or any other incubator, first start with the free stuff. Free is good. I love free. So take advantage of their training programs, their networking programs, their lunch and learns. Anything that's being offered free of charge, take advantage of that. We work closely, as I said, with the Small Business Development Center as well as SCORE. Take advantage of those. Get your business plan developed. Work on your marketing plan. All of these things are available free of charge. When the time comes where you maybe need some space and you need to start thinking about some place to be, we bring our clients in at the lowest level possible. We call it the ideation station, and it's co-working. $100 a month. Clients can use our building, use our conference rooms. They have access to me and all of my coaching and mentoring, and they get a mailing address. So they no longer have to use their residential address. They have a legitimate business address. So that's usually the first place our clients begin, is just in the ideation station, and they kind of get things worked out. The second co-working space we have is kind of more for the engineering folks. We call it the workbench. And I can host up to 5 companies in that space. It's co-working because all 5 of them share the space, but they each do have a little dedicated desk, and then lots of room to spread out, put their computers, build their prototypes, lots of electricity, lots of plugs. It's really designed more for engineering. Then I have that co-working laboratory I talked about, Launch My Lab, where clients can come in on a month-to-month basis and lease space in our laboratory to do laboratory types of work. Caveat on that, you got to talk to me. Not every business fits into that. There's certain things you just can't do in a shared environment, but we can talk about that. And then we go into what we call our dedicated laboratory incubation, and then they can lease as small as what do we have, like 500 square foot lab. It's about $1,500 to $2,000 a month. And they can grow and contract. So clients sometimes will come in, they'll start with 1 lab, go to 2, go to 3. Oops, something happened, we're back to 2. So we try to be flexible and work with our clients to always make them as successful as possible.
Great.
Answer the question well? Okay.
Yeah. And again, if anyone has any questions of either you or me or anyone in the ecosystem, reach out. That's what we're here for. So we're starting to have some questions coming in, and one of them is, what do you see with the interaction of companies that kind of, start off separately, get to know each other, start working together? Is that something, you encourage, enable? Do you see very often? What's your experience with that?
Yeah, we do. We see it and we encourage it. It's really good. So the Innovation Center is a little unique because when we opened up in 2003, that was the year that Pfizer downsized in Kalamazoo. 2,000 researchers lost their jobs. We had a bunch of them come over to the Innovation Center. So our initial population were all these people who knew each other anyways. So it was very unusual. So there was this very collegial atmosphere at the center when we first opened, because all these people came, they all knew each other, they all started working in their labs, and they were all talking and communicating and having lunch together and having coffee together. And the wonderful thing is it's just continued. So as new clients come in, they just kind of get absorbed into that. And so the clients do work together quite often. I can't really give examples of that. I'm allowed to, but it does happen. It happens a lot.
Yeah, and there's space around the labs and the meeting and the conference rooms for just meeting areas for people to sit and just have lunch and chat and have water cooler moments.
We have those areas, and those are for the more serendipitous, hanging out. But then we also foster it. So we do monthly, when we get back to normal, we do monthly lunch and learns, where we invite everybody in the building to come and have lunch, and we provide it. So, the old adage, feed them and they will come. It does work. And so if we feed them, they will come. And then we also have, we call it the hangout. We do that once a month also, where we bring in some snacks and beverages, some sodas and things. And we just encourage everybody to just come out of their lab. And so it's a set date, it's the 4th Tuesday of every month, and it's only for the clients. And, we actually walk around, knock on doors, hey, it's time, come on down. And people come and hang out. And that's where a lot of that happens. A lot of that, they talk about what they're working on, and someone goes, hey, I could help you with that. And before you know it, there's a collaboration happening. So
great. So this is an important one. I had a question, and they may have missed the beginning of the presentation. What if I don't have the business skills needed to help my company grow? Do you offer mentorship support? So could you just kind of reinforce what you said?
So we do. So we do have, we did launch this year an actual mentoring program, and it goes through as a cohort. So it started in February, and they will go through the end of the year, and all of the participants were matched with a mentor, and they are to meet monthly on their own. But then we also have a mentor meetup once a month where it's a little bit more guided. So they're actually kind of getting 2 meetings per month. They're getting a meeting with their mentor, and they're getting the mentor meetup, where we also bring the other mentors who didn't get matched. We bring them in. And so there's the opportunity for them to meet with not just their mentor, but some other mentors as well. So that's the more formal program. And that is kind of for clients only. But then we also do, if you are a client, you get me. If you don't have those business skills, there's mentoring like there's me, and I am basically available to my clients as much as they need me. And I used to be an SBDC consultant, so I spent 9 years working one-on-one, coaching these high-tech companies and helping them, and then helping them find what they need. So I can coach and mentor to a certain point, and then we have to ask that technical founder, are you willing to put in the work that it's going to take to be the business person? Can you do both? Can you be that technical lead, and can you be the business lead? And you've got to be honest with yourself. And some clients are like, no, I can't. I'm like, cool, then admit it, and then let's go find you some help. And I help them find somebody who maybe want to come in and partner with them. Some clients can do both. My building is full of them. People who came in as scientific, technical people who knew nothing about business, and they have learned and they have become quite adept at it. And they like to mentor. So yeah, we can do that.
Great. And I'll just add to that, kind of one of the things that we're taught is that one of the first things you have to do as a scientific entrepreneur is decide when you're going to sack yourself as CEO. Because entrepreneurs or scientific entrepreneurs are good at the tech side, but most of them not necessarily so good at business growth. So you have to plan for that. And so I just want to also point out that we do have, MEDC also does support various funding systems to help companies move into that kind of growth phase. So we have the first capital fund, we have the pre-seed fund, we have various angel groups, and I know that's an area that's close to your heart, Sandra. So do you want to give a quick plug for the kind of angel funding that you guys help support?
You bet. So Kalamazoo is fortunate. Just a couple of years ago, we launched the Kalamazoo Angel Fund. And so the Kalamazoo Angel Group is working as a subsidiary of the Grand Angels. So it is managed by the Grand Angels, Tim Parker. And yeah, we have a group of Kalamazoo Angels that meets on a monthly basis, and they evaluate deals and they make investment. And we do our best at the Innovation Center to help clients, and this is anywhere, this isn't just in Kalamazoo. We do a quarterly meeting that's coming up in July called the Kalamazoo Venture Tuesday. And we invite 3 high-tech companies from anywhere around the state. We've had them come from all over the place. And we have them give a 10-minute presentation to a panel of 3 investors, active investors. And the purpose isn't for investment, the purpose is to learn. And I tell our panelists, you gotta give feedback. Be honest, but be kind, help the entrepreneur learn, and the audience really benefits from hearing, the pitch and then the feedback. And so it's a great training tool. Even if you're not pitching, just to be part of it and watch and listen, it's a great tool. But deals do get done. So, you make your pitch, the investor hears it, and they're like, that's really interesting. And so there will sometimes be follow-up conversation that happens after that. But that is one of the things that I help do as the Kalamazoo SmartZone and the leader of the Innovation Center. I help these clients identify what kind of funding do you need, what kind of funding are you ready for, and what can we do to help you find that funding? I can't guarantee it, but I can certainly help the client put their best foot forward.
Mm-hmm. There's often a kind of matchmaking component that the funder, the investor has to be a personal match for the company as well. So it's quite an intimate process. So I've had another question. Thanks for the excellent presentation, impressive gender stats. What stats do you have on other underrepresented groups, including Black and Brown participants, and how representative is that percentage to the community in Kalamazoo?
Yeah, I will be honest, it's not good. We have only just recently begun to track those statistics. It just never, it wasn't, we didn't think about it. We didn't have to, we didn't think about it. And we've, realized within, I think we started in January, that those are the statistics we should be collecting. And the numbers are not great. I would say on the leadership side, I don't know, 1-2% maybe of the companies that we're working with. It's very low. And I think that is simply reflective of the high-tech sector. And that's why we need to do more to encourage diversity of gender, of race, of everything. We need to do more and be more welcoming. And I would embrace opportunities for that. I would like to do better, and I would like to see more women, more people of color. Just all kinds of diversity is always a good thing. And
But we've been working on that for the last couple of years. Women and ethnic diversity in entrepreneurial startups is very difficult for high-tech startups. What we're trying to do is work to make sure that people from these groups are elevated to higher leadership positions as well. So it's certainly not at all just WMed. That's a common feature. So we're going to run out of time soon. I can't let you go without asking you, COVID, how has it impacted you? What's the situation now? If someone's sitting out there and they have an idea, do you want to say to them, wait for another couple of months to get in touch? Get in touch now. What's going on?
Yeah. So COVID has impacted us all. Technically, the Innovation Center is closed. I'm working from home. My colleague Madeline is working from home. But luckily, the building is fairly self-sufficient. We do have staff. We have facility staff that go in and check it every day, and it is in a total lockdown situation. So clients can get in using their access cards. So clients continue to work, but there is nobody on site. And we're able to communicate with our clients. We do a lot of video conferencing, so I'm still able to coach and mentor and talk to my clients and help them solve their problems. So a lot of email, a lot of video. If somebody were interested in the Innovation Center, I would say the first step is to email me probably. Let's have an email conversation back and forth about what it is you need and how we might be able to help you. If clients need to come in, if they were really interested in space, we would simply have to make an appointment. They'd have to follow our protocols, our safety protocols. We are, having them complete a health questionnaire before they come in. They have to wear, face masks. They have to stay 6 feet away. We do not have a lot of space right now. I have some. So, hey, if you need labs, come talk to me. And it is lab space that we're leasing. Offices are only available to clients who have laboratories. So we don't just lease office only because we just don't have enough of it. We have a lot of lab space. We don't have a lot of office space. And I only have about 4 to 8 labs right now that are available. So we are getting kind of full, but that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the first place to begin. Just email me. Don't even call me. Just email me first.
Okay. And for those who are thinking about starting the process but want to get more information, when do you think you're going to be up and running again in terms of having your trainings and your networking?
That is such a good question. We are playing it day by day, just like everybody else is. The gyms were going to open today and they didn't open. So I'm hesitant to put a date out there. I would say, by the time there's a vaccine, fingers crossed, everybody thinks that's going to be an easy thing to do. We still don't have an AIDS vaccine. Let's not get too excited. Yeah. It's looking promising, and we hope that there will be a vaccine soon. I think once that happens, that will definitely open things up. I'm hoping that we're going to get some things maybe in the fall. I'm planning a market validation boot camp for October, which we'll learn about. One thing, if you go to our website, we do have a calendar of events, and you will see all the calendar of events that are out there. I don't have a boot camp out there yet because I'm holding off a little longer, but we're planning on doing this boot camp in October. We're planning on the Boundless Women Confab in November. So I'm hoping September is kind of my target, that we find ourselves open again for more standard stuff.
Okay. And should the worst happen and we aren't able to open up in person, are there any potential plans to do virtual trainings or?
Yeah, we will as much as we can. Like, for example, that Kalamazoo Venture Tuesday that I talked about, that's going to happen on July 28th, and that is going to be virtual. That information is out on our website, so anybody that wanted to watch, they can register and log in and they can watch the event happen. We'll be doing that. And the SBIR training programs, those have gone virtual. So I know, like, our next one, I believe, that is already out there as a virtual offering, and I believe they're free. Because there's no London.
Yes. Yeah, I think they're free for the moment. Okay. So I think that uses up all the questions that we have, and I have. Do you have anything you want to add, Sandra? We have another couple of minutes.
Do I have anything I want to add? Let me see. I wrote so many notes. I forget to say things. I probably still forgot to say things.
There's so much going on at your incubator.
Yeah. No, I would just say, these are challenging times, and it always is hard in the high tech area. But all those entrepreneurs out there in the high tech sector, just keep at it, hang in there. There is lots out there to help you, not just me. So you might contact me, and after we have some conversation via email or via telephone, I might actually refer you somewhere else, because I might not be the best person to help you, and this center in Kalamazoo might not be the best resource for you. Michigan is blessed, thanks to the MEDC. We've got smart zones, and we've got these great universities with great programs. So never fear. Just ask for help from somebody, anybody, and we will all do our best to get you where you need to go and connect you with those resources that are going to help you. So even if it's not me, it's going to be somebody else, and I'm going to help you find that person.
Yeah, great advice. The ecosystem is very connected in MEDC, is very connected across the state. So again, if anyone wants to look at the MEDC website to see the wider resources, as always, just reach out to any one of us and we can help get you on track. And if you find it's quite a complicated ecosystem, if you find you're kind of lost in the system a bit, always feel free to reach out again and we can get you back on track again. So yeah, we talk to each other, we know each other, it's a close-knit system.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Sandra. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to talk to us about this. And I expect you're going to get a lot of questions from here. So thanks again.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
Great, thanks. And thank you. I'll pass it back over to Piper.